Hello, everyone. What's up? What's up? What's up? I am coming to you live from Washington, D.C. But hey, everyone. How's it going? How's everybody doing? I'm coming to you live right now from Washington, D.C. But we are going to be talking about New York City primary day, and if you hang out just a couple of minutes, I'm gonna have a very special guest on this IG Live. But I'm here in Washington, D.C. We got called back for votes. I cast my early ballot this weekend. If you haven't cast your early ballot yet, make sure you head out to your local polling station. Make sure you talk to your aunties, your uncles, your tías, your tíos, your primos, your grandparents, your mimas, your grandpas, everybody, and make sure you're turning out the vote in the New York City primary day. We are not ranking Andrew Cuomo. We are ranking Zoran Mamdani number 1 on our ballots. And the best part about it is that we also get to rank lots of other fantastic leaders in New York City. We've got Adrian Adams, we've got Brad Lander, we've got Nyc Mayoral, we've got Scott Stringer. It's the nice thing about ranked choice voting is that you can support all of the above except for Andrew Cuomo. And so want to talk about that, want to see what we've got going on. Quick update from me. Apparently, Trump woke up on the wrong side of the bed this morning and he decided that he wanted to pick a fight with me. Little old me. And he's going to lose that. So maybe don't send our country into war when the vast majority of Americans, Republican, Democrat, and Independent, don't want us randomly bombing countries because you're in some type of mood. They're not even briefing Congress. Congress was supposed to have a classified briefing today, and they canceled it last minute. It's giving scrambling. It's giving disorganized. It's giving they are having problems behind the scenes. And by also not even briefing Congress on a bipartisan basis, please understand that this is Trump's war. This is a Republican war. I think war is bad, like just in general, but don't let them, don't let them play with this. So he doesn't belong in office. I said it from the very beginning. I don't think rapists belong in office. So anyways, that's an aside. We're going to talk about the New York City primary. Let's see here. I have a very special friend that's going to be joining us in just a moment. But we will have him join soon. New York City primary, we need high turnout from our folks. If you are in the Bronx, turn out for Zoran. If you are in Brooklyn, turn out for Zoran. If you're in Queens, turn out for Zoran. Manhattan. If you are a Staten Islander who is supporting Zoran, let's do it. Someone said makeup eats. Thank you. I'm trying new things, so I appreciate that. Let's see. We are going to have the one and only Zoran Mamdani joining our live today, but he's a very busy man. He's out canvassing. Please show some love for Zoran. It is such a hard thing to do, to run like this. It is exhausting. It's this final day. I want people to know that that what to expect tonight, right? Because a lot of people following this race um, aren't familiar with how New York City elections work. We're not going to be getting the full results tonight. We're going to be getting round one, and so we're going to get like a preliminary drop, but I wouldn't it but that does not mean the final result is happening tonight. We're going to find out in a week on July 1st. That's when everything else is going to play out. So we, just so you know, when we've got these results playing out at 9 p.m., we're going to get some information. We're going to see what round one is. We're going to see what that early vote looks like. We're going to see what people's first rounds today are going to look like. But again, we're going to find out for sure on July 1st. However, I think with that first drop of data in the coming days, there's going to be some projections. But at the end of the day, it's all speculation until next week. So I just want you all to know, because the New York City Board of Elections, I think the country's, you're going to see how we do things. It's also ranked choice voting, which is not like a normal election in a lot of other places. Ranked choice voting, what you're able to do is really list your candidates in preference order, which the upside is that you don't have to worry about there only being two parties represented, two candidates represented. You get a number of different choices, but the downside is that it's a little more complicated. You don't get results immediately, right away. And so don't freak out if you don't see anything, all the way. So I'm going to check again, see if we've got Z here. Not yet. Oh, maybe I can invite him. I'm going to do that. Okay. I invited Zoran. When he's here, he's here. Okay. In the meantime, I'll talk to you a little bit about what's happening in Washington, D.C. Again, Trump decided that he wanted to go after me today. He's saying that, oh, what's up?
What's up?
The man, the myth, the legend, Zoran Mamdani. How you doing?
I'm doing good. How are
I'm
you? How are you? Thank you
doing
for having me
good.
on.
No, of course, of course. I mean, everyone here is so excited for you, Zoran. Everyone's so proud of you.
Thank you.
Everyone is just like really rooting you on, cheering you on. I, of course, am so proud of you, and I'm really cheering you on as well. And tell me, how are you feeling, just like as a person, as a human being?
It's it is quite surreal to know that polls are about to close in about 3.5 hours. It's been pretty incredible. We've been running around the city for about 12 hours and there's a lot of excitement. And ultimately it's just gonna come out to whether or not we can get everyone who's excited to come out to the polls themselves.
Mhm.
And it feels like people are ready for a change.
Yeah. And I mean, I know how it felt on that last day, like right before the results in my first race. And just as a person, like soaking up every minute leading up to this is really important. And so, how are you feeling about that?
I'm it's quite lovely. Um it's quite overwhelming in the best way. I think especially when you meet a lot of young people who have said time and again that they haven't seen themselves in our politics and in our policies
Mhm,
before. And one of the things it reminds me of is when you were running and when you won, it was this moment for so many where it felt like democracy could be different, that politics
mhm,
could be different. And there was this young South Asian kid who came up to me. He's just like, I've never seen us before.
mhm,
And,
mhm,
and I think that it's that feeling that when politics has just become something less and less relevant to your life, to your struggle, you lose more and more faith in it. And it
Yeah.
feels like this is a moment where we can't just say what Trump is doing is authoritarian, which it is, and think that that's the only crisis in democracy. The other crisis is that people just feel more and more removed from this. And
Yeah.
today has been so moving because people feel like it could actually be different. It could actually, they could see themselves, they could see their life. And I think that that is a beautiful, beautiful experience. And it's been lovely building it with you.
Yeah, no, of course. And I think for a lot of people kind of following and watching, they something that a lot of people may not know is that you and I share communities. So for people following along, Zoran is one of the assemblymen in the state in my congressional district. So we both represent Astoria. We represent a lot of similar communities. And it's just been a real honor to govern with you and alongside you and take care of our community and to watch you really grow that responsibility into this race and into such an inspiring moment for everybody. And I know that, you know, regardless of how this shakes, I feel really good, but regardless of what happens, like just as of today, you have changed our politics a lot.
Thank
And
you.
I just want to say the things that are that are hard to say as a candidate, but
Well,
like
I appreciate you.
to be the first major Muslim candidate for mayor of any city in America today, let alone the largest city in America today, it is it is a breakthrough thing. And you have represented so many people. And I think when we talk about the Democratic Party, again, Zohran's not saying this, I'm saying this, y'all, okay? When we talk about the Democratic Party, I think what a lot of young people also see is that we are facing a situation where the party is not going to change willingly. Um, I think about this a lot because you are running this great race and you've also ran alongside so many amazing other candidates, right? Brad Lander, who's just like salt of the earth, Zellner Myrie, Adrian Adams. Like we have these great candidates and everybody's so different. And even with that, even with the pick of the litter, the party is still going to make the same decisions ad nauseum. And so that's how we got Andrew Cuomo. This was not always a two-person race, right? Like for all the people complaining about these things and whatever. This was not always that. The establishment did what it does. And young people need to rescue this country because we have been handed a burning climate. We've been handed just that we will continue to get the short end of the stick until we change things and make the world in a positive
And
vision.
we're being asked to trust the arsonists. And I think that's the most difficult thing for so many to comprehend, that we're being told, in New York City, that the most pressing crisis as it is affordability, and then we're being asked to trust the architect of that
That's right.
crisis. And I think it's as you said, which is that we can't wait for the experts any longer. We can't wait for anyone to make the right pick. It has to be us. And I think, I remember the moment when you won in 2018, and this realization that this could be in our hands. So many of the very people who'd been told to wait could be the ones that actually turn the page.
Mhm.
And one of the most moving things to me has been, yes, seeing so many young people come out, but also seeing older New Yorkers who come up to me and they say, my daughter is making me vote for you. My son
Mhm.
has told me I have to do this. A redefinition of leadership as to where it can also come from, and who can also be kind of leading that understanding even in our own family dynamics.
That's right.
And that's been
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah, and it's also it's such a reflection of the people because while our leaders may be clinging on and they will not let things go without leaving nail marks on it. But that is not reflective of our parents' attitudes and our grandparents' attitudes and our great grandparents' attitudes. Like our grandparents, our abuelas, our abuelos, they want to give us the world.
Yeah.
And um and as you mentioned, like you're seeing that in the city. And I I think again, no matter what, you have changed these things. Andrew Cuomo was supposed to cakewalk
Yeah.
into this. In many ways, I think he wanted you as his opponent.
He did.
Well, he got everything he wanted.
He did. And I think, we always say there's no kings in this country. There are no coronations either.
That's right.
And he's having to find that out the hard way. And I think what's so exciting is that it's everything is there to play for. I mean, it is such a tight race. And
Mhm.
if people are in New York City, there's still these 3.5 hours. I would say come out, knock doors, call your friends, text your friends. And if you're not in New York City, go to zoranfornyc.com/events, sign up for a phone bank, make those calls because that can be the difference. For
Yeah,
every 12 attack mailers somebody gets in their mailbox, one actual person speaking to them can make the difference. And that's why we're even
absolutely.
here.
Yeah, and this, as you mentioned, this race is projected to be very close. And so if you are someone like Zoran mentioned that doesn't live in New York City, if you have a friend that does, send them a text. Polls are closing at 9 p.m. Just send them a quick text and say, "Hey, have you voted today?" Or, vote for Zoran for me. For everything. And I know, and here's the thing, it's like people are like, why do people care about this New York City mayoral race so much? Because it speaks to the dearth of leadership that people feel in the country writ large. And we are going to find our bright spots wherever they come from. And you are one of them, Zohran. And you just are. And, you know, it a lot of folks don't like change, and I get it. Trust me, I've experienced the brunt of that. But we need it. We need it. And um, the ideas that you've brought to the fore, saying enough with the rent crisis and the affordability crisis in New York City. My family's from Puerto Rico, and we're getting complete like Puerto Ricans are getting priced out of the island.
Yeah.
And so I know a lot of people in New York City feel the same way. It's so painful for when your family grew up somewhere for 30 years and you feel like your family's going to be forced to be displaced and move to a place that they've never known
Yeah.
because now all of a sudden we've made $5,000 a month for a one-bedroom apartment a normal thing. And you're saying enough. And we have to draw a line and we have to decide who the city is for.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's a really beautiful thing.
Thank you. Well, I mean, I really truly like you've blazed the trail that we can walk on. And I'm thinking that there was this childcare worker who came up to me in Sunnyside and she told me I never used to think of myself as a progressive. And then I looked at Bernie and I looked at AOC and I realized these are the only people that are fighting.
Mm,
And and I think that's this moment of realization for so many New Yorkers who don't have the same language of how they describe their politics. They don't have the same language of defining themselves in a specific strain. And yet, the most important thing is, are you actually willing to fight for the things that you believe in? And so many people will agree with what you just said of, the rent is too high and the affordability crisis is too pressing. And yet, too many of them will take the same checks from that same landlord lobby and continue to despair over something they're facilitating. And I think that's what's on this ballot, today until 9 p.m. is for 2.5 million New Yorkers who live in rent stabilized housing. If I win, that rent's getting frozen. If Andrew Cuomo wins, that rent's going up. You know, for the 1 in 5 New Yorkers who can't afford a Metro card, if I win, that bus is free. If Andrew Cuomo wins, that fare's still going up. And same thing with childcare. We all want people to raise a family here. We want them to grow old here, and we're making childcare $25,000 a year. Who can do that?
And also for us as a generation, like, it's not possible. Like,
Yeah.
life has been, we inherited a world that is hostile to life. And all of it is for someone else's profit. And there's a world where, we have to make a city worth living in
Yeah.
that's happy, and we want to have families, but this is not because people are lonely. It's because
Yeah.
childcare is $25,000 a year. Like, yeah, people are lonely, but also we're working two jobs. How are you going to
Yeah.
meet anybody? you
Yeah.
know?
I think people will write any story so that they don't have to write the one about the
Correct.
economic realities of it.
Right.
It's like, yeah, you're lonely because you can't afford to get a coffee with your friend. Like, what are you supposed to do?
Yeah. So, Zohran, it's amazing. And again, everybody, we've just got 3.5 more hours of this very long journey. And it's just about getting everyone there. And so if you are there, if you are in the city, if you can canvas a bus stop for the evening rush, it's 5:30. People are getting on their trains, they're going home. The subway stops are going to be crammed with people getting out after rush hour. You being at that, a person being there with a clipboard at the evening rush can make the difference. If you're from outside of New York City, texting a friend that you know lives in New York City to get them to vote can make the difference. And this is going to be so close. And that the fact that we are here is an enormous accomplishment. And I really hope that you soak that in and that you feel that, because you have really inspired not just New Yorkers, but you've really inspired a lot of people across the country that there is talent here. There is a bench here. There isn't a lack of leadership. There is a lack of people who want to make a path and make a way, but there's not a lack of leadership, and you've really shown that.
Um, Thank you so much, truly. And to have had you as part of this campaign and to have had your support, it has been so much of why so many New Yorkers even know about this campaign. And I just want to say thank you to you for all of the years of the fight and being a part of this, and to everyone who's on this live right now. You have gotten us to this point as well. You have gotten us here where we are at the brink of making history. And ultimately, we want to banish the what if in these next 3.5 hours. The what if you made the phone call? What if you did the canvas? What if you sent the text? What if you went out and voted? I've met New Yorkers today who've asked to take selfies who thought the election was going to be again tomorrow. There are people who want to support this movement. They just don't know that they only have 3.5 hours. So go to ZoranForNYC.com, sign up for a shift, come on out. It would be so lovely to have you. And Congresswoman, thank you for showing us that this has been possible for so many years and letting us become a part of this same journey.
Of course, absolutely. It's going to take all of us. So thank you, Sofran.
Thank
We're
you.
so excited. I'm sorry I can't be there. I'm stuck in DC voting on whatever, but that's all right.
You're you're here on every single palm card. So you are with us.
In spirit.
Yeah. All
Thank
right.
you.
All the best.
Bye.
Thanks so much. Bye.
Of course. Hey, everyone. Um, Thank you all. That was really great. I'm glad that you all have, at least on this live, had an opportunity to meet Zohran, maybe over an Instagram live, um, or be able to hear from him directly. And so, sorry, the light's all weird here, but I'm glad that you all were able to do that, because this is a really special moment for New York City. And as I said before, the fact that Zoran has made it to this place is a testament to what it means to practice a politics of proximity to people, to practice a politics of genuinely loving people. And I don't mean that in this soft, mushy way. It's a very real and active way. When you run the kind of campaign that Zoran is running the kind of campaign that I run, that I've run, it is how you spend your time is different. You're spending your time in the street. You're not spending your time at at like fancy donor parties or anything like that. And it's not to, I'm not here to like demonize anyone in that respect, but what I am here to say is that the thing that people I don't think gets acknowledged is that over time you are shaped by what you are proximate to. And when you run a big money campaign, you are surrounded by big money all the time. And I think a lot of times I hear from very well intentioned uh, elected officials saying, I can do that and it doesn't change my principles. And I, I'm not here to dispute that, but what it does sometimes do is that if you are spending the majority of your time socializing with people of a similar class or background, then your worldview becomes shaped by that. And practicing a politics where you are spending most of your time when you're not on the job around everyday people, not just when it's time to ask someone for a vote, but you know, when you're in the senior center on Thanksgiving and really doing that all the time, you really develop a sense and understanding and connection to what life is like. And you have to nourish that. It can't just be, oh, when I was a child, I grew up this way, so I know what it's like. No, that relationship, that's fine, that's good, but that relationship is something that has to be constantly tended to, or else you can be separated from it. And so to run a campaign like this is super important. And I think the fact that it has resonated with so many people speaks to the need of leadership in this moment. And it's really hard because even sometimes when I've seen a lot of political elite try to quote unquote pass the torch, they often want to pass the torch to people that they feel like they can still shape, lead, etc., as opposed to a genuine passing of the torch, which requires trust um, and understanding. But, and that's why when I ran in 2018, I had no money. I was outspent 10 to 1. Millions of dollars were spent against me. And it's funny because the political establishment likes to tell this funny story where they say, oh, no one saw her coming. They fell asleep at the wheel. They weren't there. That is not true. They tell that story so that they look like they didn't lose. So that it was the immediate spin. Ironically, the next day, I won. The next morning, Andrew Cuomo, of all people, said that my existence, my victory, was a fluke, that I was here by accident. And that's unsurprising because given how Andrew Cuomo treats women, and I'm used to that. being underestimated. But what people don't often see and understand is that you can outwork that. And it's not going to happen every single time, but that's why we need so many people to do what Zoran is doing, because they're not going to hand it over willingly. Um, and we see that example play out over and over and over again. And it needs to be supported by everyday people. The majority of Democrats want to see change in leadership of our party. So we should not be electing the old leaders of our party again. And my message to anyone who is all of a sudden like keyed in and trying to, who has like a sudden, it's interesting because this support for Cuomo is not sudden support for him. It's a sudden turn against Zoran. And I think that it's fascinating that that I don't think a lot of these people realize that people are watching. And I I can say as a survivor of sexual assault, um, it is really dispiriting to see so many politicians suddenly not care about the things that they have in the past cared about. And the only difference is that the person that did this thing is your friend. And, and if we're just using sexual harassment as a political football, I don't think we want any part in that. I don't want any part in that. And whenever these things occur, whether it's someone that I'm proximate to or someone I'm not, I hold the same standard. And I think a lot of women are surprised at what we're seeing here. Um, it is like a legitimate bummer. Someone saying Zoran equals communism. Like, really? Really? um, but I'll take a look. I'll see if you guys have any questions here. I'll see if I can make one or two comments, and what you've got. Um, let's see. Brad Lander should have your support. Brad Lander does have my support. I love Brad. He's done fantastic work on the city council. And he is really being such a strong leader of selflessness and integrity in this moment, by stepping up and modeling what a coalition politics looks like. He could easily throw others under the bus, and Brad is not the kind of person that does that. And everyone tells you that in politics you can't do this, you can't do that, and he rejects all of it. He is a man of such profound integrity, and I'm proud to support him as well. And I think that it's I'm just like really proud of a lot of the leaders that we have in our city, even if kind of the powers that be don't want to give them a chance. Um, let's see. Um, just taking a look. A lot of people are asking about this impeachment vote that happened today. I do want to give some context to it, okay? Like, so I voted not to table the motion. This is a procedural thing. So people are asking about this vote. I'm going to explain it very quickly. There were articles of impeachment that were drafted and dropped today. That's an important detail. I'm going to put that on the side for a second. So they were dropped today. After those articles were dropped, the Republican majority, put down a motion on the floor that says motion to table those articles. So what that means is you're going to put the articles aside for a moment, or you're going to put the articles aside and not vote for it in that moment. That is what a motion to table is. So if you vote yes on the motion to table, that means not immediately proceeding with impeachment. If you vote no on the motion to table, that means you're okay with that proceeding. I personally voted no. I was okay with those articles proceeding. But a lot of people are noting that 128 Democrats voted yes to table it. Now, I just want to explain what that means procedurally and a little bit, lift the curtain a little bit. Articles of impeachment can have many different kinds, can take many different forms. But what articles of impeachment actually are, in a literal sense, is that impeachment is the prosecutorial tool of Congress for the president. It is the check on the presidency. We have the system of checks and balances. Impeachment is the legislature's check on the executive. And because it's a prosecutorial thing, it's like you're filing charges, right? It's similar to saying you can impeach someone for high crimes and misdemeanors and several other things. And so when you file articles of impeachment, it's you are naming the high crimes and misdemeanors that you believe have been committed, and those articles get voted on, and then it goes, if they proceed, if they pass, they go to a Senate for a trial, a full trial, right? That is what impeachment really means, okay? So the charges are important, right? Because if you vote on those charges, they better hold water, because when it goes to the Senate, you are voting, the Senate is having a trial on the specific charges in those articles. And so if the president is guilty of committing a crime that you do not name in those articles and it goes to the Senate, if they vote no on those articles, that whether he committed that other crime or not, if it's not included here, then it's all kind of for naught, right? So what happened today is that articles were filed the same day that the vote happened. And so, so when that occurs, and again, I'm not speaking for anybody else, right? I personally am not speaking for anybody else. But some of the dynamics that I see is that those charges were filed very closely to the time of the vote. And I think there were, I think a non-consequential deal here is that when that happens in rapid succession, people often feel like they can't review the articles in time. And so again, I voted to proceed on it, but I see how a person can say, we haven't had an opportunity to read these, and we want to make sure that they are, etc. And so they may have voted to motion to table. And so I'm just explaining. Y'all are asking. I'm trying to shed some insight into that. Personally, I voted against the motion to table, which means I voted to proceed with the articles. because they were with respect to war powers. I've made my position on that known. I'm consistent with that position. But I wanted to shed some light on that for you all because you're asking in the comments. So, anyways, um, just taking a look here, and then, someone says, do something about it. We keep hearing you say the things. Now, I do want to speak to that as well, in that, listen, I, it, I have a theory of power that is about outside inside power, which means that you are constantly building power and modes of accountability inside government and in the streets, organizing the masses outside government and in just like everyday real life. And right now, the inside power, Democrats are in the minority. People don't understand that when we talk about congressional elections, midterm elections, who controls the House and who controls the Senate, it doesn't just mean that there are more Republicans than Democrats. It does not mean that. Sure, there may be more Republicans than there are Democrats, but what it also means is that when there are more Republicans than there are Democrats, that means that Republicans control every committee, they control everything that comes to the floor. They control what legislation gets voted on or doesn't get voted on. They control whether investigations happen or not. And right now, Republicans are in control of the House, they're in control of the Senate, and they are in control of the White House, which means that Democrats do not have control of committees, control of investigations, ability to conduct oversight in the committee sense, in the congressional sense. Now, where I have a departure with some others is that I believe I'm a big believer in building outside power, out organizing, etc. Um, and to me, that means that it involves getting creative as a party. When I have discussed, like, for example, we don't need Republicans, we don't need to rely on Republicans to do hearings. Democrats can call shadow hearings where we do hearings with all Democrats, invite a witness, talk about this. I did this last year with Jimmy Raskin on the Oversight Committee. We conducted a shadow hearing around the corruption in the Supreme Court, which led to my filing articles on Justice Alito. And so I think that engaging in that kind of activity is important. Us continuing to build mass movement. These rallies that Bernie and I have been doing have been enormously powerful, not just from let's all get together and deliver a speech, but there is a lot of organizing infrastructure down ballot and also just in community organizing non-electorally that gets built when we decide to select a location strategically for 20,000 people, 30,000 people. And so it involves a lot of different pieces, building this power, building this accountability, and also building pressure inside Congress, including inside the Democratic Party, to create. One thing that I do think our party needs is that, this is something that Zoran mentioned, we need a vision that's not just anti-Trump. And this is a position I've long held. This is a position that a lot of people have long held, is that we actually need to have a positive affirmative vision for this country and be willing to take risks and vote on real things and actually tell people what we're fighting for. And a lot of people don't know what an average Democrat fights for, because we need to build that consensus. But I don't think that we're starting with nothing. I think that this is where we have an opportunity to fight for minimum wage increases, to fight for guaranteed health care, to fight for something that's actually worth, like today in New York City, we are experiencing a near historic heat wave. It's 100 and something degrees. People are standing in line in the hot sun, no air conditioning. You need to actually have a vision that's worth standing in the hot sun for hours to vote for. And people are not going to do that with like only being upset. Like, it's important for us to hold the corruption of this administration accountable, but we also have to have an alternative vision. And it can't just be not that. If it's not that, then what? And for me, my what is raising wages, raising the federal minimum wage to a living wage. My what is guaranteed health care for every American and catching up with the rest of the modern world. My what is making public colleges and universities tuition free. My what is actually having a real path to citizenship in the United States. A lot of people have this crazy idealistic idea of how our immigration system works. And they're like, I support immigrants. I just support legal immigrants. This administration is outlining legal paths to immigration. So no, this is not about supporting legal immigration. This is about this, like what they're doing is opposing immigration. In fact, this week, Republicans are going to put a bill on the floor where they go with this headline, right? It's about DUIs. It's just what they are saying is if you are undocumented and have a DUI, you automatically get in the line for deportation. What they are not saying is that in that bill, they are containing a lot of pathways to strip U.S. permanent residents, green card holders, of their security and ability to stay in the United States. And so, like, they aren't just going after quote unquote undocumented, quote unquote illegal, undocumented people. They are going after our immigration system writ large. They are trying to blow holes in it. And then what happens, what you see on TV is like these very salacious claims that of all this other stuff. And so, it's this is something that, like, we need to have an alternative vision, and we need to be real with people about that. And the Democratic Party is a coalition. Listen, would it be cool if everyone in the party shared the exact same beliefs that you do? Sure, but that's not how this country is. And it's not just like people live very different lives in rural areas and urban areas, and they may have different priorities. And so that's why our politics isn't one of forcing everyone to be exactly the same, but it's about building a coalition across difference with recognition of what is the most important thing for all of us, and not allowing people to divide us. So anyways, I need to head out, but shout out again to Zoran. Once again, if you are in New York City, turn out, turn out, turn out. We've got 3 hours left in the polls. If you're not from New York City and you know someone from New York City, shoot them a text and check if they voted today. And you'd be surprised. Maybe your friend forgot. Maybe your friend thought it was tomorrow. Zoran said he's running into so many people that think it's tomorrow. So don't assume. Make sure you bump someone a text. If you're in the city, hit up your family, see if you can turn them out, and we'll see you later. Bye bye.